The hero's journey is and always will be the most compelling story archetype ever created. Why? Well, I made a video about it up here, but it's because it represents the human experience. And the most important part of the hero's journey, the moment everything changes, is the death and rebirth. Sometimes the death is literal, like in Solo Leveling or the resurrection of Christ. Sometimes it's metaphorical, like in Star Wars or Lord of the Rings. It represents killing your former self to become something greater. But across all these stories, the message is the same. To become what you are meant to be, a part of you must die. You must kill the boy inside to become the man. So why is this theme so universal? And how does it relate directly to our lives? Let's dive into it. Let's start with Solo Leveling because it's a recent story and it's one of the clearest examples of a literal death and rebirth in modern storytelling. Sung Jin Woo begins as the weakest hunter of all mankind. He is fragile, powerless, and constantly afraid. And then in the dungeon, he dies. And when he awakens, he comes back with a new ability, a new identity, and a new path. This moment is not just some upgrade, it's a complete transformation. It is a rebirth. The weak version of him is gone. It's dead forever. So why does this resonate with us? Because many of us feel like Sung Jin Woo in the beginning, weak, scared, and unsure of ourselves. But we crave the moment where something inside of us snaps, where the old self dies, and a stronger version emerges. Most men don't get some magical system, but we do get moments where we outgrow our previous identity. And this usually comes through immense suffering, with something like heartbreak or the death of someone we love. And if we embrace self-improvement, literally solo leveling, then we transform. Now let's talk about the most influential story in human history, the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. Whether you're religious or not, let's just look at the story. Christ willingly walks towards death with open arms. He suffers, he is broken, he is beaten, and he dies. But the meaning of the story is the resurrection, it's rebirth. Because his resurrection represents the idea that suffering and sacrifice leads to transformation, both personally and spiritually. Again, whether you're religious or not, this archetype is very powerful. Every man suffers. Every man carries a cross and must bear his cross. Every man faces moments where a part of him must die. Pride, ego, addiction, selfishness, to be reborn into something stronger. Christ's resurrection is the symbolic foundation of every hero's journey. Essentially, you are not defined by your past. You can rise again. You can be reborn. Strike me down and I will become more powerful than you could ever imagine, which leads into the next story. In Star Wars, Luke Skywalker's story is the definition of a metaphorical death, while Obi-Wan represents the literal death and rebirth in the form of the Force Ghost. Luke begins as a farm boy, naive, emotional, untested, unproven, and just very boyish, playing with his little toys. But when he leaves Tatooine, that version of him dies along with his aunt and uncle. Then comes the cave scene on Dagobah, where Luke is faced with a vision of Darth Vader, only to see his own face behind the mask. This moment symbolizes the truth. To become the hero, Luke must confront and destroy the weaker version of himself, the fear, the anger, the impulsiveness. And he does confront this. He confronts Darth Vader and gets his hand cut off and nearly dies. Now, by Return of the Jedi, he is completely reborn. He is calm, he is disciplined, and self-controlled. He has finished his training and become a Jedi. Luke's transformation is the same message men face today. Your old identity will hold you back unless you confront it and let it die. In The Lord of the Rings, death and rebirth looks a little bit different. You obviously have the transformation of Gandalf the Grey to Gandalf the White, and you have Aragorn and the Shards of Narsil. But what I'm going to talk about specifically here is Frodo. Frodo doesn't die physically, although he is stabbed, but his innocence is what dies. At the start of the story, Frodo is pure-hearted, light-spirited, and untouched by darkness. But the moment he takes the ring, he has to bear the ring, which literally represents bearing one's cross, and his entire life changes. Every step destroys a part of who he once was. He is thrust into adventure and it radically changes him. And by the time the journey ends, Frodo can't just go back to the Shire. He's been transformed, not by triumph necessarily, but by burden and sacrifice. His rebirth is the painful truth that growth often costs you the version of yourself that once felt safe. It's the loss of innocence and the realization of the cruelty of life. You can't just go back to your ivory tower or the Shire. You've seen too much. It's like what Gandalf says to Bilbo Baggins in The Hobbit. Bilbo asks Gandalf, "Will I return?" And Gandalf says, "I don't know. But if you do, you will never be the same." Frodo's story teaches us the hardest lesson. Sometimes you don't become stronger by gaining power, but you become stronger by enduring suffering and bearing your cross. All these stories, Solo Leveling, Christ, Luke Skywalker, Frodo, are really all the same core story. A weak version of the hero must die so that the true, strong hero can be born. This is not fiction. It's the human experience, and that's why we are compelled by these stories. Every man has a moment that requires death. Killing your laziness, killing your addiction, killing your excuses, killing the identity that you cling to, killing the comfort that keeps you weak, killing the old version of yourself that is afraid to take responsibility. All of this happens when you are confronted with immense suffering. Joseph Campbell, the scholar who first analyzed the hero's journey, famously said, "The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek." Yeah, that's pretty much it. You cannot become who you are meant to be by clinging on to who you used to be. If you want strength, discipline, purpose, and transformation, you must suffer, and something inside of you must die. You must kill the boy so that the man can finally be born. But do not be afraid, because we all want to be like the hero in these stories. But the hero never has it easy. The hero must overcome this immense suffering. That's what makes the hero. It's overcoming that suffering. The reason that death and rebirth appears in every hero's journey story, from ancient scripture to modern anime to Hollywood productions, is because it mirrors the deepest truth of human life. We don't grow through comfort, we grow from radical transformation, and transformation always demands sacrifice. A part of you must end for a new part to begin. That is the hero's journey. That is the masculine journey, and that is the universal law of becoming a man. You must first die to be reborn.